Hello, hello, my beautiful beloveds. Thank you so much for your presence and welcome to another juicy episode of Deep Penetration with Sadie. This is the show where we get deep into some topic related to sacred sexuality to support us in our journey of awakening, bringing in greater consciousness to our sexual energy and expression, to our spiritual path, to connecting with others, to connecting with ourselves, self-love, to connecting with source, with the divine within and without. So, lots to unpack on this journey of sacred sexuality. Sexuality that has been so distorted and manipulated, vilified, demonized, perverted, shunned, shamed in our society for many thousands of years, right? And we are really trying to move out of that. This channel is all about supporting us to reclaim, re-own, reconnect with our passion, our purpose, our life force energy, our sexual energy, our creativity. It is the energy that brings life into the world, right? It's a very powerful energy. So it's not surprising that it's been kind of used against us to keep us down, right? If you've been following my channel, you know that I trust everything happens for a reason. Everything is happening for us. So we're not going to shun, shame, and blame any systems or societal things, whatever, for where we find ourselves. It's about taking responsibility. For whatever reason, those energies and thought patterns and belief systems, guilt, sin, shame, all sorts of good stuff, was part of our experience for a reason. And now we have a higher consciousness and we are understanding that is not serving us, and we're looking to find a way out, right? We're ready to step into a new experience of our sexuality and our sensual expression, and a new way of connecting with each other, and a new way of loving ourselves in all aspects of ourselves: body, mind, spirit, the Holy Trinity, right? Bringing it all together, not shunning and shaming, ignoring any aspect of ourselves. So that's what this channel is all about. And now I am going to do my best to articulate a very powerful practice I had yesterday. I always get so much insight and wisdom and lessons coming through in my spiritual practice, my morning practice. And then some of it I really want to share with you all, and it's just maybe not the best time right when I'm in it. So I did grab my little recorder and I just took some notes, recorded some thoughts that were coming through, and I didn't have time to get into a whole video about it yesterday. But so now I just listened to my notes, and I even wrote notes. If you've been following along, you'll know I never write anything down, but I really wanted to capture this. So bear with me, it might be a little clunky. Because usually I just kind of riff on the moment, but now I'm trying to recreate something that happened yesterday, but it was really important. I was connecting with Pluto, doing some magic around the Plutonic energies. I am a Scorpio. I have 3 planets in Scorpio. My Pluto's in the 8th house. For those of you that understand astrology, you'll know what I'm talking about, and other Pluto things. So it's a really powerful energy in my life, and I've been going through many Pluto transits, and it's just, Pluto's rocking my world. But I love it, right? Being a Scorpio, I love the intensity, I love the transformation, death, rebirth, Phoenix rising. I live for this kind of stuff because that is my energy, right? It is transformation. So I'm constantly growing and transforming, constantly. I remember my previous partner was just like, could we stop transforming, please? And I'm just like, I can't. It's just what I do. I'm constantly evolving and moving and shifting and learning and growing and changing. I mean, we all are, right? But some of us embrace it more. Some of us chase it more, or bring it on. Let's go. I'm ready for, so much growth and expansion and freedom from the old things that don't serve. That's why I'm so passionate about this, supporting us to release those old belief systems, release those old ways of being. A death to those old ways, and then a rebirth, right? Rebirth. And then, eventually we elevate even higher, and then that needs to go, and then we move into a higher consciousness, right? But it's an ongoing process. So I love it. I mean, granted, it can be a little exhausting at times and overwhelming, for sure. But apparently that's what I came here for. So I'm really excited to support all of us in that. But okay, so yesterday, doing some magic around Pluto and connecting with Pluto and really stepping into this, a new, Pluto just moved into Aquarius, so we're in a brand new energy, and will be for some years. You know, it was just in Capricorn, and that came with it some really big lessons and really serious transformations, you know, globally, collectively. So now we're in a new energy. So I was working with that, honoring it, stepping into it, you know, setting intentions, getting very clear. And things just started coming through for me around that Plutonic energy. And it is a really intense kind of, you know, one might call it the dark energy. There's the story of Persephone, you know, going down into the underworld, going down and kind of being abducted by Pluto or Hades, which is like the same energy, or Hades maybe is the place. I get it confused. There's different stories, right? But Pluto, the energy, abducts her and takes her down into the underworld. She's all innocent and carefree and picking flowers, and he takes her down there and holds her, you know, apparently against her will. And so, you know, it's understanding that we have to go into our shadow. We have to go into our depths and into the underworld, even when we don't want to, right? But that's where the wisdom is. That's where the growth and the transformation happens. And sometimes it's forced upon us, oftentimes, right? We don't want to go willingly into the shadow. It's nice to just kind of stay up picking flowers, right? But that's not the human journey. We need to get into our depths. We need to get into the shadow. And if we don't, that's fine. We can go along in a real ignorant way, but that can bring us a lot of pain and a lot of disconnection, a lot of numbness, right? If we don't start, you know, unpacking what's down in the underworld, what's down there. So Pluto takes her down there. And eventually she comes to appreciate it and gains so much wisdom and becomes the queen of the underworld, right? She returns up above for a portion of the year and then goes back down. And this is also kind of tied to fertility and crops. And it's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful myth, a beautiful symbology. It's very rich and very deep. So I've always really connected with that Persephone archetype and going down into the underworld, and it's and coming to love it, right? That's part of what was going on when I was connecting with Pluto yesterday, and just like reflecting on all of that and how seductive that dark energy can be and the shadow can be, right? Some of us will spend a lifetime avoiding the shadow, and for us, why this is relevant to this channel is our sexuality and our sexual expression has been so, you know, pushed into the shadow, and that's why a lot of us have a hard time integrating and being in healthy sexual expression, right? Because it's not supported. Sorry, there's some people outside the window right there, some gardeners. So our sexuality is largely in the shadow, and there's so much guilt and shame and not knowing how to communicate about it or express it, or is it okay to have these desires? Is it okay to want this? And how do I communicate this to a partner? And oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me because I like this, or this turns me on. What's wrong with me, right? There's so much, and the desire for sexual expression, sexual encounters, is just really, it can be so shameful for so many of us, right? So, but I was connecting with the energy. For me, that Plutonic dark energy is, and it's not ultimately dark, right? But it is going into the shadow, but it's to illuminate, right? And to see all the wisdom that's there. We are made of shadow and light. We are not, we're whole complex beings, right? And when we try to ignore the shadow, then we're not whole beings. We're very fragmented and we're shattered, and we're trying to move through the world ignoring ourselves, pushing part of ourselves away and not wanting to look at ourselves. And it's not a wonder why we feel empty and lack and unfulfilled, not nourished and disconnected from ourselves, from source, from a partner, from family, because we're trying to navigate, we're trying to move from a piece of ourselves, just this one piece that we've polished that we want to look really good so it fits into society and so it's accepted, and we've pushed all this away, like no, I can't bring that part of myself, that won't be accepted, that won't be loved, right? That's gonna be shame, punishment, what have you, judgment, criticism, right? So we're trying to navigate our life, our world, from just a portion of ourselves. It's not working out very well for most of us, right? It really isn't. There's just so much suffering that comes with this. So again, the shadow isn't bad. It's just parts of ourselves that we've pushed, that we haven't wanted to deal with, right? Or that we've taken on belief systems that told us parts of ourselves were bad, but they're not. But that's what's in the shadow. There is nothing wrong with the shadow. Nothing at all. And the more we get into the shadow and we dive into there and we start exploring and start like picking out, like, why did I put this in the shadow? Why is this in the shadow? Where did I pick that up? Where did I decide that wasn't worthy, wasn't valid, was bad, was sinful, right? And when we start picking that apart, we understand that maybe we picked up some belief systems that aren't really serving us and that maybe aren't actually our truth, right? So then we can start like, oh, actually, that's not something that's sinful or shameful, and I don't actually agree with that. So how do I bring that part of myself back? How do I integrate it in? Not that we're trying to bring all this rainbows and light into the shadow, because again, it is part of our experience. We are shadow and light. We don't want to go too much into the light again, because then we're ignoring this aspect of ourselves, right? People can really get lost in that, and it's very hard to sustain, and that can bring a lot of pain and suffering too. And then on the other, people can dive into the shadow and get lost in, like, drug addiction or unhealthy sexual expression, and not connect with any of the wisdom in there, and not bring the light in, and not integrate that part in. So, again, it's harmony and balance and integration and wisdom and self-reflection and connecting with all of these parts of ourselves. Recognizing that, yes, there's shadow and light because it's opposite ends of the spectrum, but it is all a spectrum, right? It is all part of us. I know I've said that, but it's just, I'm having like these kind of visuals that are hard to explain, but it's not good or bad. There's no freaking judgment. The light isn't better than the shadow, and we've kind of fallen into that. Like there's something better about the light, and that's not actually true. That's a human judgment call, right? That's a human judgment call. So, yeah, integrating. So getting back to Pluto. Whew. So I was just contemplating the shadow and how seductive that can be for me as a Scorpio. I love that darker energy. I love the underground. I love that part of us that we've hidden, and hence my being here and connecting with you all and everything I'm doing. Like, let's get in there. That's where the good stuff is, right? All those pieces we've hidden. Over here, we're talking about the weather and did you get a good parking spot? And we're all like, hey, everything's fine. Over here is, to me, that's where all the juicy stuff is, the things we're not showing, that we're not bringing to the party, right? So I want to dive in there, and I love that. But it's actually been, to my detriment at points in my life. Much earlier in my life, I've definitely integrated and, not in that place so much, but, drug addiction, going to jail numerous times, homeless on the streets, just going through hell because I dove into the dark and didn't know how to find my way out. And, I feel like that's a big story. That's a big story, but I was put up for adoption at birth, and that came with a lot of grief and a lot of unworthiness and a lot of insecurities and just self-loathing, which is, hence my getting lost in the dark, really lost for quite a while. I guess that was the first half of my life there, first half of my life thus far. So it's been some time since I've been out of that experience, but now it's been a coming back, right? A returning and integrating all of that. So I was contemplating yesterday, like, it is seductive. You know, the dark side, the dark shadow is very seductive for me, and I love it. And I've had to learn, and part of all this sexual energy, you know, it can be really dark, because it's been pushed into the shadow. But when we do the work and we recognize that it really isn't, and we reclaim it for ourselves and integrate and embody it and start rocking it out, you know, it's no more that. But that, for me, it's been a journey of, I guess that's it, you know, reclaiming this sexual energy, because I could very easily use my own seductive energies and qualities for manipulation, for greed, for you know, neediness, clinging, you know, the seducing people into my experience, and from not a healthy place. You know, it was very unconscious energy, because that was, you know, again, that's kind of Scorpio energy. It could be real seductive and manipulative. So, you know, and of course I wasn't conscious of this at the time, right? It was just unconscious patterns and unconscious energies just kind of running amok. So I recognize also, you know, there was, and so many of us can be doing this, right? Utilizing sexual energy to get a need met, to fill a void and to fill a lack. That is really prevalent, right? To feel like if I just have enough sex, then I'll feel okay, right? Then I'll feel loved, then I'll feel wanted, desirable, attractive, successful, right? If I'm having sex. And that's supported in our society. We're taught that, even then. That's part of the perversion, even as it's sinned and, you know, shamed and shunned, and it's sin, there's still this, like, you're supposed to be getting it or having it, or if you don't have it, you're not desirable. So it's very confusing, conflicting messages, right? So conflicting. I just felt an energy rush there. That's interesting. Something trying to move through there when I said that. Yeah, very conflicting energies. So, that took me off a little bit there. Where was I? Oh, the seductive energies, right? We can utilize these energies to try to fill a void, coming from a place of lack and not wholeness, looking to a sexual encounter, sexuality to fill a void for us, right? That's very prevalent. Or on the other side, and I recognize myself, and this is part of the contemplation yesterday, the fear of our sexual energy. The other side, again, we've pushed it into the shadow. So the fear of it taking over. What will happen if I allow my sexual energy? You know, I recognized at a point that mine could be destructive for me. I would end up in relationships. I would, you know, get into encounters with people, and then it would end up turning into a relationship that wasn't really what I wanted, because I didn't have healthy boundaries and didn't know how to say no, and would just kind of, I don't know, create this not healthy cycle for myself, right? So then I got to a point where I was just like, wow, instead of getting myself into these issues and trouble and getting, you know, connecting with people in a way I didn't really want to, because the seductive energy, it's fun to seduce, and it's fun to go through all that and to draw people in and to have all that sexy, flirtatious stuff. But when it doesn't have healthy boundaries and it's not coming from a healthy, whole-based place, you can draw in things that aren't actually healthy for you just because you got caught up in it, or just because it was fun, or just because you needed something for that moment. You needed the attention, right? So went through that, been there, done that. So then I flipped to the other side where it's just like, whoa, I'm not going to do any of that because I'm scared of my own energy, right? It wasn't a conscious thing. I know that now, but I was scared of myself and my own energy. So I just shut it down. Again, like push it into the shadow. And That's really interesting, especially after getting clean and sober and just, yeah, really kind of shutting a lot of parts of myself down. And that's been a process of reintegrating and reclaiming and stepping into it and allowing it. Part of this YouTube channel for me is me allowing my sexual energy and the truth of my passion and my purpose to support us all in this. So coming out with this and being more public and sharing about it has really been a big part of my journey. Just allowing, because my sensual and sexual energy is very important. And again, for me, this is sexual energy, right? This creative process, this sharing with you and connecting with you. And this is my sexual life force, creative, passionate energy flowing through me. Sexual energy is a creative energy. It's not just about the act of sexuality. If you've been following me for a while, you know we talk about this a lot, right? It's our passion, it's creativity flowing through. Think about sexuality. It's creation. It's how we got here. We were created through the act of sexuality, through sex. That's how we got here. That's crazy. That's how powerful this energy is. It brings us into existence, but it brings everything into existence. It brings this into existence, this YouTube channel, everything I create and everything I do, everything you're creating and doing. That is the creative, divine life force energy that flows through us. And when we've shut down so many parts of ourselves and relegated this sexuality into the shadow, that shuts down our creativity and our passion, right? So then again, we're walking around living our life as just fragmented, just a part of a real experience. The whole experience, it's a real experience, the whole experience, we're just a part. And a lot of people feel like they're disconnected from their creativity, they're disconnected from their passion. Yes, because we've pushed it down, right? So integrating, bringing it back, reconnecting with it, flowing, doing the breath work, doing the practices, stuff I have here on the channel to support you, opening that energy, getting really conscious of it and bringing it back in starts to open up our creativity and our passion and the flow. So, wow, I think I got off on a little tangent there. I do that. I told you this might be a little clunky because there's a lot of parts to it. Thanks for your patience. I get very excited. It's part of my energy. It's like, woo. But I don't know what we were talking about. I mean, it's just been an interesting conglomeration here, but I really super lost it. All right. I don't ever edit my videos either, so I guess we're all just going to move through this. If you're still here, I hope so. All right, what were we talking about? Oh my gosh, maybe I will have to edit this out. I feel like a total blank right there. Let's go back into I was definitely talking about my own sexual energy and how I shut that down, right? Oh, and after getting clean and sober. Okay, so it's been, yeah, oh, and this YouTube channel, right? This is the sexual energy for me. This is a part of it, right? Okay, so, and this is an ongoing journey because it's been so prevalent in our society around the sexual energy, and it's so layered and complex. You know, it's and our consciousness is rising constantly. So I'm constantly getting into new layers and new levels of opening up my own sexual energy, and I know I've kind of barely scratched the surface, honestly. So in the practice yesterday, in my practice, that, you know, connecting with that seductive energy and getting very clear on it, that is part of my energy, and how I've been learning to utilize it or allow it, right? Allow the seductive energy, allow the sensuality, allow all of that, but coming from a heart-based place, because it is my energy. So how do we open and allow our energy coming from a heart-based place, not from a place of fear, greed, lack, neediness, dysfunction, codependency, right? So for me, it's allowing my energy, because I've done so much work, right? Because I've dove into the shadow, because I know myself. I've done a lot of self-reflection. I've seen my parts, and I'm like, okay, manipulation was definitely a big piece of my experience, right? So then, like, which isn't fun to look at, right? It's not so much fun. We don't like to see those parts of ourselves. Like, that's why a lot of people don't do the work, right? Because they're like, we're confronted with our shit, right? So I had to really look at that and look at how I had behaved and how that was not in the best interest of all involved, and certainly not for our benefit. So, but like, okay, so there's that. And now what? Now do I help bring love into those parts and integrate that part of myself and understand, why was I manipulating? Why did I feel I needed to do that? And it was to get love, because I didn't love myself, and I didn't feel worthy of love without that sort of manipulation. There's layers to that, but it all came back down to worthiness and self-love, right? When we love ourselves and we know we're worthy and we are in abundance and we're, coming from a whole place, we no longer have to do those types of manipulations. And manipulation can come in many different forms, right? It's the people-pleasing too. People-pleasing is a huge manipulation to get what we feel like we need, when you unpack it. So manipulation can look many different ways, which is, again, why we go on this journey and start unpacking it and realize, like, things that we thought were beneficial and, like, healthy things, like, oh, I'm just caring about people. Oh, I'm just doing what keeps everybody happy. And it's like, that's actually manipulation. There's actually not coming from a love place. That's coming from fear. So that's part of this journey, like unpacking all of that. So those unconscious patterns and belief systems, right? So for me, this, getting clear on that and seeing the manipulation and seeing that kind of seductive energy, but now recognizing, like, these are my energies, but when they're coming from a place of wholeness and love, and then they can be powerful, gorgeous, beautiful energies. That is my energy. It is that Scorpio energy. It is that Plutonic energy. That's, for me, like the sexuality. There's a seduction here that's really, it can be drawing into, for me, what I see, it's drawing people in and getting them inspired and curious about this sacred sexuality, about this spiritual path, and about diving into the shadow and looking at it, right? That's the seduction, and it's not coming from an unhealthy place. It's this sexual energy is coming from, creativity and fun and inspiration and connection and passion, right? It's so much passion. So it's not about lack or neediness or trying to get something from you, right? It's just being in my own authentic energy and expression. And I was really tapping into that yesterday and just seeing kind of the path and how it has moved from unconscious to more conscious, and that is the spiritual path, right? Just getting more conscious of what is in the unconscious and what those patterns and belief systems and thought processes that are running beneath the surface, and really creating our reality, right? And running the show for us, right? When we start bringing those up into the consciousness and start looking at them and pulling them out of the shadow, right? Or diving into the shadow and, like, looking and seeing, like, what's going on here, really. Then we move from a much more conscious place, and these energies and frequencies, they again, it's like it's the same energy, but it's coming from an illuminated place, right? It's no longer unconscious. So these energies, they have the same, but they can show up in different ways, right? They can show up at a lower vibe or a higher vibe, but it's still a beautiful, seductive energy. And there's nothing wrong with seduction, right? Seduction's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's fun. It's like, But now I have so many more boundaries around it. Like, when I go out and if I meet somebody attractive, we start talking, we start connecting, I can show up in my sexual energy, which used to scare me, right? I would keep it very, very like under wraps and just like, not get involved, not share too much of myself, right? Now I can share that energy of myself when I know I'm just like coming from a healthy place. I'm not trying to get something out of them. I'm not trying to manipulate them to see me or think of me in a certain way. My boundaries are clear. I know what I'm looking for, which is usually nothing. It's just like a nice connection, right? It's just fun and flirty for the moment, but I don't have to like try to get something out of that person. So, and I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? Deceiving anybody so let's just get into this story. Recently, I met somebody, we started talking and having a really nice time, and it was clear they were interested in me. I found them attractive. It was a nice conversation, but I knew I wasn't looking for anything from them. I think they definitely wanted more, but I was clear, and so I wasn't like leading them on. I was very clear about what I do, who I am, what I'm not interested in. Like, that's not going to happen. It wasn't about like, again, there's that manipulation, right? And deceiving and trying to, get more attention out of them, needing to be validated for, being an attractive woman. We a lot of us need this validation that we'll seek from the other, right? So there was none of that. And that's part of probably why I'm reflecting on this as well, because I can see like things are just so different than they were before. During that situation, I would have wanted more from this person, or I would have shut down, right? But earlier me would have been like, oh, okay, I feel validated because this person is wanting me, and now I need to therefore do more, go all the way with this. So, which there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but again, when we're coming from a heart-based place, not from fear, not from lack, etc. So just noticing the trajectory and the growth and the different energies, and really wanted to bring this to the conversation and discuss this and talk about where have you pushed your sexuality into the shadow, and how might it be, I was going to say manipulating you, but that's not what I want to say. Yeah, it's just so, I kind of want to go to my notes, but I'm trying to just remember everything I wanted to say. But this path is really about diving in and seeing where we've pushed parts of ourselves into the shadow and our sexuality, and how I'm going to look at my notes now. This is where I should have some editing, right? Yeah, I guess I really touched on this doing the work, but I guess I'm kind of hitting all the things here. The integrating of the shadow. Yeah, we've talked about that. It's not bad. Yeah, I wrote down about the guilt and shame of the shadow and how that creates an even bigger shadow, going into guilt and shame. So it's about, I guess what I just want us to do is to just get a lot more conscious of where we have put our sexual and sensual energy into the shadow, right? And how that is not serving us, and how we might be showing up to the other from a place of need, from a place of emptiness and void, and needing somebody else to fill that void for us, right? And I really recognize that so much in myself. And the other part I wanted to talk about is know thyself. Know thyself. This is so important. This is why, like connecting with Pluto, that's based on my astrology chart. When I know my own energies and frequencies, I can work with them in such a more conscious way. And that's what astrology does for us. It gives us a blueprint. Here's your energy. Here's what you've got. Here's what you came in with. And here's some of the ways that this can show up for you. here's some of the patterns, and here's the low vibe, and here's the high vibe. Because again, all of these energies and frequencies are on a spectrum, and they have, which is not good or bad, but they can just show up in this way, which is like that Scorpio energy can be real manipulative, more very secretive, very jealous and possessive. Or up here, it's like really, there's so much wisdom, and it's a powerful deep diver, and it's transformation, and it's rebirth, right? And it's the phoenix rising and the eagle soaring. It's freedom. It's down here, it's a lot of fear. Up here, it's real freedom and empowerment and self-possessiveness, self-love, right? And an integration of all the parts and a real wholeness. So know thyself, know thyself. If you're not familiar with your astrology chart, this is a great place to start and really start to know your energies and understand how you can elevate them and move out of some of these unconscious patterns that just are part of our experience, right? So, but we have so many unconscious patterns around sexuality because it has been put in the shadow, and a lot of people are scared to dive in there and start picking that apart and really looking for ourselves. But it's really a really simple way to like look at this for yourself is like, how are you showing up to sensual and sexual encounters? Are you needing somebody to fill that void? Are you feeling guilt and shame? Are you feeling emotionally needy? Are you feeling frustrated and anger? Are you feeling resentful towards the other person because you're not getting what you need, or feel like they're not showing up for you in the way that you want? Are you scared to tell people what you really are interested in? Do you feel shame around your desires and interests? Are you shut down from your sexual energy because of many different reasons, right? Many different belief systems, or maybe like what I was working with, just fear of my own sexual energy, fear of that it might get me into trouble, that it might get me into situations that weren't really beneficial for me, There's fear of not being met, fear of being judged, fear of being criticized, What's going on for you around all of this energy of your sexual energy, right? What is that? What's happening for you? And those are very simple questions to ask yourselves, right? And then from there you can just start unpack that. Where did I get that from? What's going on? What was my sense of self-worth? Do I lack self-love? Which pretty much all of us, right? We're dealing with that one. But there's just so much. There's so much going on here, which is why for me, the sexuality piece really takes us into our shadow, really dives us into our spiritual path and our spiritual journey, right? It's an excellent gateway in because it's so rife with so much in this society. That's a very religious dominated society, and even if we didn't grow up in a real religious family, it's in the collective, right? It is what it's just what we're marinating in it, right? And we've grown up in it, we've inherited it, so it is the dominant belief system and structure, so it's hard to escape it. So this is just a real like self-reflective piece, episode here, which I guess that's usually what they are, but just a lot coming through in my practice yesterday, and the beauty of illuminating the shadow, right? What happens when we go in there and we explore and we discover and we allow and we integrate and bring it back. We reclaim those pieces of ourselves that we've pushed into the shadow, right? Then we become these whole, beautiful, amazing beings. I'm stepping into my sexual and sensual expression, my creativity, my passion more and more and more every freaking day. It's an ongoing journey. I'm feeling more whole though, more able to express my energy, more able to allow my passion, able to connect with people in a much more holistic, gorgeous, loving, empowered way, right? Really able to enjoy the connection now because it's coming from a more whole place, and I'm not coming from such a place of lack and neediness and unworthiness, right? So that's the promise of this journey. That's the promise of this journey. Whew. What else do I want to say here? We just got to start living for ourselves, right? And that's really so much what this is all about. We've given so much of our power away. We've been living in so much fear about not being accepted, not being loved, not being cherished, not being held, not being seen, not being connected, right? Judgment, criticism, comparing, contrasting, not fitting in. You know, I move through it seriously daily. You know, there's just so many ways that we keep ourselves down out of fear. So it's really about rising up into our truth, allowing the truth of our energy, allowing the truth of what matters to us, what's important to us, how we truly want to live our lives. Breaking free from, you know, all the people pleasing and trying to keep everybody happy and trying to fit into the system. I'm so grateful for your presence. I thank you for being here and being on this journey with me. I keep pushing back on myself and just showing up, right? And doing what I am so passionate about. And I just really, I'm so inspired for all of us to be in our passion and in our light, right? And to know love and to love ourselves. So, even if that comes out awkward and weird sometimes, you know, like sometimes I just don't articulate very well and I get myself very excited and forget what I'm going to say or lose track. That's totally fine. You know, we gotta ease up on ourselves and quit feeling like we have to be perfect. And I know I mention that fairly regularly because this is what I'm pushing back on myself with every day, you know. These are old belief systems. They don't just go like that, but we do find a lot of freedom really quickly when we start diving into this and going on this path, as you well may know, right? We can get some good freedom real quickly when we start to dive into all of this. So, but it is a journey, and I don't want to pretend that it's not, you know, that it's all rainbows and unicorns, because it just isn't, right? But we're here together, we're doing it. I'm so excited, and I love that. I love connecting with others who are on this path, and I'm really excited about breaking free from the systems. We are the ones here to really do this. We're at a different consciousness now than our parents were, right? They didn't have the tools, they weren't in the same energy. We are just so elevated now, and we're really moving through, and it's amazing. So leaps and bounds. I know there's just so much freedom here for us and liberation, and it's gorgeous. And again, thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure, and thanks for listening. If you've gotten this far, I'm grateful for your presence, and wishing you so much love, so much self-love and beautiful connection with yourself, with others, with whatever turns you on, right? Thanks for moving through that with me. I think I covered everything. I looked at my list and I'm feeling pretty good about that. It's just really what we're doing here, right? And again, just stepping into our own energy so much. This was a teaching from the council, channeled by Sarah Landon, or is it Landers? I always say her last name wrong. I apologize, but I think it's Sarah Landon. Open and allow your energy. They would say open and allow your energy, you know, and that's just real, which means we really kind of have to dive in and like, what is my energy? I don't even know, because it's so convoluted with all these things I've picked up and taken on, right? So that's this path of undoing these belief systems, undoing these all these thought patterns we've taken on, all the big box that we're carrying, all this stuff. So open and allow your energy, and that it's just been a real powerful, you know, one of those little beacons for me that I hold all the time. Open and allow my energy. Open and allow my energy. Allow that seductive, beautiful sexual energy to flow through. without guilt, without shame, without judgment, without criticism, without trying to tamp myself down, without worrying how it's being met, without, just again, so long as it's coming from a heart-based place, and it's just free and natural and open, right? The judgment on it is shit that I've picked up from society, from the systems, right? But there's nothing wrong with our sexual energy and our sexual expression, ultimately. Heart-based. Okay. I'll stop. Normally in this show, we go to the cards, the tarot cards, and get some wisdom from there, but we're not doing that today. So, because we're at, oh my gosh, it's 4444. Angels are here. Angels are everywhere. Gorgeous numbers. So, I will stop with that. Be sure to check out the rest of my YouTube channel for so much more content to support you on your sacred sexuality journey. Be sure to visit my website for more resources, for sessions, for offerings, for pilgrimages, for programs, for just a lot going on there. Oh, and tons of community events, monthly events to support you on your journey as well. So come and join the party. There's a sensual dance event that happens every month. Just get down into your body, and it'll help your sensual energy flow and really connect with your own gorgeous energies, body, mind, and spirit. It's really, really sexy fun. Really sexy fun. And you can be on camera or off camera. So you can be totally private and it's just supporting you to really be in your body and allow your energy to move, right? That's part of it. A lot of us have tamped our energy down and shut down our bodies and so this helps to get that flowing. So that's one of the events. There's more on there too. Check them out. Get on my mailing list for all updates and specials and exciting things happening. Let's see what else. Love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself. That's what this is all about. Helping us to be in greater self-love. Thanks all. Hope you have a gorgeous day. Bye.